Welcome to the northeast of England for the 36th Great North Run, which this year boasts more nationalities taking part than any other road race in history. Aiming for his own little bit of history, double Olympic champion Mo Farah will be out to take the men's crown for the third year in a row. But joining me in the commentary box is Tim Hutchings.
There's Joyce Cheruiyot, the Commonwealth champion in Glasgow at 10,000 metres. She's a 2:24 marathon runner. She's got good speed and strength, although she was only 15th in the London Marathon this year, the 28-year-old. Her personal best 66:19. There is Priska Jeptu, one of the quickest athletes in history. She did win this race in 2013. Pulled out of last year's race with an attack of malaria. And her years so far has been fairly modest. 8th in a big half marathon in the United Arab Emirates in February, and then 8th in the London Marathon, which was a little disappointing by her standards. There is Gemma Steele, second last year in 71 minutes exactly, a former European champion at cross country, and twice she's been second at the Great North Run as Gemma Steele, I should say. She found her form.
I was just saying, a nervous look on that face as she approaches this young woman, Tiranish Dibaba. What about her in the past? Look at the record.
Yes, Dibaba, twice Olympic champion and 3 times world champion at 10,000 metres. She was third in Rio at 10,000, even though she ran faster than she's ever run before. Beaten there by Ayana with that incredible world record in Rio a month ago, and Cheruiyot was second. And Vivian Cheruiyot, here she is. What a debut this will be for the Olympic champion at 5,000 metres. Happy birthday to her, by the way, Vivian Cheruiyot, 33 today.
And the starter, president of the International Athletics Federation. And when you noticed on the line, they all were clicking their own personal stopwatches here, because they will be looking at pace right the way through, whether they're on the schedule, and how they will proceed. And there's Wellings, and we saw her in Brussels just recently, the Australian young woman who was 10th in the 10,000 metres at the World Championships in 2015, and of course the Olympic Games as well, the early part. And of course the first 2 miles of this course pretty quick, incidentally, and those who have been on this course before will know not to be pulled into too fast over those first 2 miles.
It's very, very tempting, Stuart, to make these first 2 miles so fast down towards the Tyne Bridge. It's a gradual drop to the Tyne, which is just before the bridge, is just before 2 miles. And I mean, the one time I've run the Great North Run, I fell into exactly that trap. You go too quickly on this downhill slope, and your legs really feel it when you get to the 2 mile point. There's a slight climb, and the contrast is pretty severe.
Let's have a look at the course itself, starting, and that's the elevation. Look at that, the high point at 5 miles, but from the town moor all the way down, Tyne Bridge at 2 miles, and then past the Gateshead Stadium, and seen many international competitions there, heading down, gradually down towards South Shields. There are lots of twists and turns. In fact, there are timing mats at 10k and at 15k, incidentally. And it's quite a tester, as Tim was saying. The high point is at 5 miles, but it's undulating, although it's not, there are world best times for this course. That's difficult, that little downhill piece, as they turn left at the bottom. It's about just over a mile to the finish, but that little downhill as you go down to the left side is very, very testing indeed. But look at that undulation at the bottom. No real push on at this stage.
No, but the clearly conditions are good, Stuart. They haven't got a wind in their faces, that's for sure. Look, 6 abreast there across the front of this group. Tiranish Dibaba right in the middle of the group, tucked behind that front row, in the middle of that little pack. And for her, well, frankly, this will be a training run. She can go so much quicker than this. She really will be almost literally jogging at this tempo as they hit the bridge.
Yeah, it might well be that Vivian Cheruiyot in the blue, right at the top of the picture, made a little surge there, but that will suit her, Tim. I mean, if this is a debut run, it's, you know, the first half of the race is not particularly quick. It will certainly suit her in the final stages, that's for sure.
Well, across the middle of the Tyne Bridge, they're approaching 2 miles. Remember, 5:31 for that first mile, so it doesn't look to me like there's been any injection of tempo, Stuart, so I suspect around 11 minutes will be the time we'll see for 2 miles. There is plenty of hard running to come. Big crowds on the bridge, as ever. It is one of the spectacular landmarks, perhaps the biggest by some margin on this course. There's a slight climb when they come off the bridge here, and then they turn left to head down towards the Gateshead Stadium and head out in the easterly direction with that wind behind them. You can see from the flags there that the wind is coming from their right, from the left as we look at it. And when they take that left, then they'll have that wind behind them. Then we'll see the times pick up, I'm sure.
So the athletes being introduced now, and local athletes, of course, coming into the early part of this just to see how they are going to perform. We'll see. David McNeil, the Australian, collegiate champion in America. He's American-based, of course. And then Chris Thompson, Aldershot Farnham District athlete, former European champion in the 10,000 metres. And there's Emmanuel Bettner. He's, as it says, the Great South champion over 10 miles. Very, very quick. He's a very fast man over 10,000 metres too. His fastest time in 2012. But Dathan Ritzenheim of the United States, he's next in. He was the first finisher of non-African origin in the World Championship 10,000, but in 2 years, 2007 and 2009. Now on the road, well, we'll see. 2:07 marathon man, and now a man who's had such a season, such a career, and such a dominance in racing over 5 and 10,000 meters. He doesn't have the fastest times ever been run, and my goodness me, he's difficult to beat. They've all tried, and Mo Farah will introduced not only to the crowd. Look at this, the reaction from the elite behind, applauding the great man. Well, there is David Rudisha, the Olympic champion. He defended his 800 meters title in Rio, broke the world record, of course, in 2012, and away into the downhill part of this race, and Mo Farah's gone off pretty quickly on the right of the shot. I tell you what, they're getting out of the way, aren't they? Dathan Ritzenheim is there, and Bett is there with him. They're all those that we introduced, and Thompson as well, just moving away from the field. And already you can see the sort of spread, even amongst those introduced as the elite. I mean, this is a very, very quick start. But these are the decent club athletes who have good knowledge of running on the roads, and they will lead off the remainder of what I reckon will be around about, there are 57,000 who are registered, and I reckon about 44 will probably come across the line at the end. And look how it's breaking up. It's absolutely beginning now to accelerate, and I would think that we will see some quicker mile times coming up shortly, because it looks to me as though there is a little bit of a subtle increase in pace.
Well, that's right, Gemma Steele there, back in what, 7th, 6th place, just struggling to hold on to this group. Eloise Welling's in there, mixing it with the best of the Kenyans and Ethiopians. Charlotte Purdue, 2:11. Well, she dropped out of the European Championships half marathon in Amsterdam a few weeks back. She another Nick Bideau coached athlete.
Lily Partridge there, 2:10. And, those two now dropping off the back. And Mo Farah running very close to the crowd, really getting a close look at and that rubbing shoulders, and that's what brings the crowds out to see the great man. And Chris Thompson up there as well, 4:32.
4:32 for the first mile. That is fast. It's exactly what we expected. That's about 59:20 pace, something like that for the men. And crikey, they've really hit the straps early on in this men's competition as they come over the Tyne Bridge, Stuart. I mean, 2 miles, they're going to be around 9 minutes at 2 miles. And Ritzenheim there, out in front, very, very happy to push it along. I'm a little surprised because he has great speed. He's a 12:56 5,000 meter runner. I thought he might want to just tuck into the wake of the Africans and hope that he can use his speed over the last mile or two.
Well, he's certainly established the tenor of the race, that's for sure. And really, as you said, at 4:30 pace, it would give her 59 minutes. And of course, the course record is Martin Mathathi of Kenya. That was here in 2011 in September, of course. And that 58.56 is the course record, the world record. But of course, we've already established the nature of this course is 58.23 by Tedesco.
Those flags give a really good indication of the strength of the wind blowing eastwards down the Tyne Valley. Boy, oh boy, really quite severe, that wind coming from the athlete's right, from the left as we look at the picture. Gemma Steele struggling now, Stuart, off the back of that leading group of 5. The good indication again here over this last few minutes of how this course is all gradually up or down. It just rolls along with the natural hills. They haven't cut through any hills on this old road that heads out towards the coast from the city centre of Newcastle. It is quick and single file now as Ritzenhein really gets his head down and drives on. He's a lovely looking runner. I'll say that for Dathan. He's got a beautiful style. Chris Thompson looks comfortable in second place. This is almost like a cycling race, isn't it? They're tucked in behind each other, slipstreaming, with Mo Farah in 4th in the dark glasses.
As the red arrows come over the top of the Tyne Bridge, as is usual. Fabulous, fabulous group of pilots here. And I've said on previous occasions there'll be probably 1 or 2 of the red arrows listening in. I've played golf with them in the past. They're very good at piloting airplanes, but their golf needs a little bit of working.
Wow, they are really shifting, Stuart. 4:57. 4:54, 5:04. I mean, they're averaging under 5 minutes per mile now.
Yeah, that fast mile came in with a slight downhill. And between 6 and 8, it is downhill. So we've just got to take that into account. They'll start a little undulation up again at 9 miles, but certainly. All of a sudden, Tiranish Dibaba recognised the danger. Did you see that? Right off the backs, he came to the front ahead of Jep2 and ahead of Chep Kirui, who had led for a lot of this race. And Dibaba recognised the danger.
Well, back to this men's race, and you can see Ritzenhein there, for the first time, relinquishes the lead and slots in behind Bet and Farah. But interesting, isn't it, that Ritzenhein probably ease back a little bit, and Bet is more than happy to take up the burden of pushing the pace here. 27 minutes on the clock. They went through 4 miles in 18:26 as opposed to last year when Mo went through in 18:34, so they're still ahead of schedule. 6 miles there in what, about 27:38?
Yeah, that's what I thought about. It's unofficial at 27:38, so that was 6 miles.
And that again puts them still 8 seconds up on last year's tempo when Mo, remember, won the race in 59:22. So we're still heading for something down in the low 59s, Stu, which is incredibly quick.
Jep2 is back in the sort of form that we saw when she won this race in 2013. Ungainly she may be, but powerful and very, very efficient, obviously. But the difference between these two is quite significant in the way they look and their stature. So much taller, Jep2.
So about 3 miles to go, just under 3 miles to go, Stuart, and it's a fabulous race unfolding here. I guess when we look at the 2 halves of the race so far, really conservative first 3 or 4 miles, and then they began to crank it up from about 5 miles onwards.
Dathan Ritzenheim, look, he's come back.
Well, they went through mile 7 in 4:23.
Ooh.
They are absolutely flying. They've gone 4:24 and 4:23 for the 6th and 7th miles. Can you believe the tempo they're laying down here? And Ritzenhein, I don't know where he suddenly found this second wind from. I thought he was dead and buried behind Bet and Farah. But he's injected more tempo on this uphill. Good crowds on this section of the course. I think, Stuart, these are some of the biggest crowds I've ever seen in the Great North Run. It's a beautiful day. Mo is fresh from winning that second brace of Olympic titles, and the crowds of the Northeast have turned out in their tens of thousands. It's really good to see.
there's this downhill. That is so hard, particularly on the knees when you come down that long downhill. It's a significant downhill. You can see them almost putting the brakes on coming down.
This is Redwell Lane, this little drop for about 100 metres, and I remember that myself when I ran it, what, 25 years ago. It's very, very tough indeed. You get to 12 miles, your legs are very sore, and then bang, 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 you pound down that steep downslope to take the left here onto the coast road, and it really does create a double whammy, really.
12 miles gone, 1.1 mile to go then, and Jet2 knows that Vivian Cheruiyot has got a sprint finish on her. Well, Better's gone. Ritzenheim still there. This is a good performance by Dathan. He's going so well, and Mo Farah latched onto the back. Remember last year's race when Stanley Biwott and Mo Farah did battle, and this is another one.
Well, the 9th mile at 4:43. That was a slower mile for the ladies as well, as at a 5:06. So there's a slight uphill in that 9th mile. But Ritzenheim keeps pummeling away, doesn't he?
Now Jet2 has really put the pedal down now. She's in full flight. What has Cheruiyot got left in the final stages now? What has she got left? It's quickened up significantly. Look at that, 65.15 in the final part of this race. But Dibaba's left it a little bit too late, I fancy. I really do. But look at this. There's the sprint finish for the first two, Cheruiyot and Jet2, side by side. Who will prevail here?
There's
no gainly Jet2.
No quarter been given at all, is there? 800 metres to run, about half a mile to go, and these two, because they've been accelerating, Stuart, over this last mile, so Dibaba's acceleration has been neutralised, so to speak. She hasn't been able to close on them enough. I thought she was a couple of minutes ago. The gap, as you said, was down to about 15 or 20 yards, but they've dug in one more time, and Jet2 using that marathon runner's strength in territory. Remember that Cheruiyot has never been in before.
Absolutely new territory, but Cheruiyot now, has she got anything left? Will she up that leg speed? Will she be able to prevail? She's making every bit of an effort now to come alongside. Look at this, and Cheruiyot moves up alongside and takes the lead in the final stages now. Vivian Cheruiyot, what an athlete, the Olympic 5,000 metre champion, showing that sort of speed now as she comes into the final part of this race. She waited and waited and waited. Jet2 desperately tried to get away, but she couldn't. Is Jet2 finished? Not yet. But certainly Cheruiyot looks to me to have a little bit of left in the tank, but Jet2's coming again. Jet2's really attacking, and a little look over the shoulder. It's going to be a really good finish. They're close to the finish now, and Jet2 making a final effort. But Cheruiyot surely has done enough here to take this title for 2016. It's a marvellous, marvellous race. She paced it beautifully. For an athlete who's never been the distance before, they're well into the last 400, probably 200 metres to go. Vivian Cheruiyot of Kenya leads in. Jet2 of Kenya chasing hard. Jet2, of course, the winner in 2013. Led, tried to get away, but couldn't get away. Just 200 metres to go now in this 2016 race over half marathon. Vivian Cheruiyot has got it. There's no question about that. This talented 5,000 metre champion surely has got it now in this last 200 metres. Jet2 did her best, did absolutely everything. Dibaba is in full flight behind them in third place yet again. Dibaba, of course, was third in 2013. But the crowd, look at the size of the crowd greeting these super athletes in. But Vivian Cheruiyot coming home to win the Great North Run for 2016, to add that to her Olympic 5,000 metre title. Brilliant, brilliant run. And Tiranish Dibaba takes the third place. A most magnificent run, fabulous run by Vivian Cheruiyot on her debut.
What we tend to take for granted too much is how consistent Mo Farah is. I mean, he almost literally never has a bad race. You know, this year he was beaten in a cross-country race back in January in Edinburgh, but cross-country is certainly not his surface as he heads down Redwell Lane. This steep downhill hits the front for the first time, Farah, with that great leg speed of his. But he set a British record over 3,000 metres at the London Diamond League, the Birmingham Diamond League earlier on in midsummer, breaking a very old course national record of David Moorcroft. And from then onwards, his summer has gone from strength to strength, and now transferring onto the roads. And of course, he hasn't yet really nailed it on the marathon. He had that somewhat moderate attempt at the marathon distance in London 3 years ago when he ran 2:08. Farah says he'll have one more track season in 2017 and wants to have an attack at the world record at 5,000 metres, but then he will move on to the roads and really focus upon getting the marathon distance right.
Look at this. This is just at just before the 2-mile marker, the Tyne Bridge. Wonderful shots of thousands and thousands of athletes who've made their application. Well over 120,000 apply, but only 57 get registered.
Well, Mo Farah surely heading for his third consecutive win at the Great North Run. The crowd's roaring him on, and what a privilege it is to get up to touching distance of Mo Farah, who blazed to glory in Rio with, frankly, consummate ease over 5,000 and 10,000 metres. 800 metres to run for Mo Farah. Ritzenhein backing on gamely, and to be fair to Ritzenhein, Stuart, another indication of how well he's run over this last 2 or 3 miles is the fact that Bet has dropped back quite substantially, and he is very much a world-class racer, is Bet. But Mo Farah, we wondered if he could retain his Olympic titles at 5,000 and 10,000. He didn't just retain them, he retained them with real pomp, with real ease in that Rio Stadium. And undisputed world #1 distance run at the moment. There is some criticism in intense distance running circles that he hasn't got a world record to his name, and that's why I think he's saying he'd like to have a bash at the world record for 5,000 next year. He will be 34, so it's a very, very tall order, but when you think he's European record holder at 1,500 metres, he's European record holder at the half marathon, that spread of speed and strength is almost unprecedented. It's very, very rare, so certainly Mo can go quicker at 5,000 and 10,000 than he has done yet against the clock.
Look at the time, though, and his best time, personal best, 59:22. So,
well, it's going to be very tight for Mo. I don't know if he's going to hit that 59:22 that he ran last year to take the Great North title. Time to celebrate and acknowledge the support of massive crowds, Stuart. I'm sure these are the biggest ever crowds at the Great North Run.
Oh no, he's still got 200 to go, isn't he? I was just hoping that Dathan Ritzenheim could go below that 60-minute barrier, but whatever happens here, you have to say that a lot of credit to him for this day.
Mo Farah then into the home straight, 150 metres to run. The crowd 20, 30 deep on both sides as the Olympic champion at 5,000 and 10,000 from less than a month ago charges towards the line. Ritzenhein top of picture, battling away gamely in second place. Wants to get a good time here. He's going to be close to the 1 hour spot. And Mo Farah celebrating in enormous style as he crosses the line to take the 2016 Great North Run title, his third consecutive win. That in itself a unique achievement since the 1981 first edition of this race. Ritzenhein crosses the finish line there in around 60 minutes and 13 seconds. Much, much quicker than he expected. And for Ritzenhein, that is very close to his personal best. But boy, oh boy, did these two put on a show for the crowds, and they have each given 100%, as you can see. That's the result for Mo Farah.
Yes, it is, just over the hour, 60:04, but Dathan Ritzenheim 60:12, Emmanuel Bett 61:22, ahead of Abdi and Mayo, another Kenyan.
When I go past 6-7 miles, I just feel pain. Your legs just slightly lock up. Where on the track, you practice different pace and you don't feel it till like last lap. But here, you've got quite a long way to go, and you've got to keep that going. And I think I just need to do more training for the road.
There's Vivian Cheruiyot, 67:54, from Priska Cheptu at 67:55, and Tiranish Dibaba, who tried so hard in the final mile or so, 68:04 from Chep Cheruiyot, Wellings and Charlotte Perdue in 6th place.
When I was racing against Tiranish Dibaba and Chep Cheruiyot and Priska Cheptu. and they have been competing in marathons and also marathons. So I was like, I should not go in front immediately because I never know what is going to happen ahead of me, and I was just relaxing. But it was a little bit tough at the last 1 kilometer, but I'm so happy. It was really fantastic for me and also to end up my season.
So a little bit of history for Mo Farah as he wins the Great North Run for the 3rd year in succession, whilst 3 of the biggest names in women's road racing provide a thrilling finish. Next up for us is the Great Scottish Run. Keep up to date though on our website greatrun.org. From now, from South Shields, it's goodbye.